The water stains on my basement wall appeared overnight, spreading like dark fingers across the concrete foundation I'd waterproofed just 6 months earlier. I'm Charles Graham, 42, a compliance coordinator for Vermont's Department of Environmental Conservation. I've lived in River Crossing subdivision in Silverfield for 8 years. I know water damage when I see it. The stains ran in perfect vertical lines. Too perfect. Too uniform. Water doesn't behave that way naturally. I checked my sump pump first. The discharge pipe ran exactly where it should, 20 feet from my foundation, emptying into the designated drainage easement between my property and Derek Hayes' house next door. The system worked flawlessly during our spring inspection, but the basement wall told a different story. I grabbed my flashlight and walked the perimeter of my foundation. The ground showed clear signs of recent water saturation. Not from rain. We'd had 3 dry weeks. The soil composition was wrong too. Clay deposits where there should be sandy loam. Derek's wife Emery Hayes waved from their kitchen window. She'd been unusually friendly lately, bringing over cookies, asking about my work schedule, commenting on how quiet my house seemed during the day. I waved back and continued my inspection. The water damage extended along my entire east foundation wall, approximately 40 linear feet. The moisture penetration reached 18 inches above the basement floor. Professional remediation would cost thousands. I pulled out my phone and photographed everything. Timestamps, angles, close-ups of the staining patterns. Something wasn't right about the drainage flow. The watermarks suggested a consistent, pressurized source. Not natural runoff. Not seasonal groundwater. I walked to the property line. The survey stakes from my 2019 boundary confirmation were still visible, exactly where they should be. But the ground between our houses showed recent disturbance. Fresh soil, new grading. The Hayes family had been doing yard work all summer, installing new landscaping. Derek mentioned they were improving their drainage system, said they'd hired professionals. I never saw any contractors. Emery appeared at their back door. "Everything okay over there, Charles?" "Just checking something," I called back. She stepped outside. "We've been meaning to tell you. We had some drainage work done last month. Hope it didn't cause any issues." The timing matched perfectly with when my basement problem started. "What kind of drainage work?" "Oh, boring technical stuff." Derek handled all the details with the HOA. She went back inside before I could ask more questions. I stood there, staring at the disturbed ground between our properties. The pieces weren't fitting together. Professional drainage work required permits, HOA approval, city inspections. I'd received no notifications about adjacent property modifications. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. "Check your HOA compliance status. Some recent violations need attention." The anonymous text sent me straight to the River Crossing HOA portal. I logged into my account using the credentials I'd memorized after 3 years of living here. My compliance status showed green. No violations. No pending issues. But there was something new in my document history. A drainage modification approval dated August 15th, filed under my property address. Signed by board member Derek Hayes. I never submitted any drainage modification request. The approval referenced sump pump discharge relocation to optimize neighborhood water management. It included technical specifications, pipe routing diagrams, connection points to adjacent property drainage systems. My hands shook as I scrolled through the attached documents. Professional engineering drawings, soil permeability reports, grade calculations showing water flow directed toward 847 Maple Ridge Drive, the Hayes property. I called the HOA management office immediately. "River Crossing Community Association, this is Emery speaking." The same voice I'd just heard over the fence. Emery Hayes worked for our HOA management company. "This is Charles Graham, at 845 Maple Ridge. I need to discuss a drainage approval that was filed under my address." "Oh, hi, Charles, let me pull up your file." Keyboard clicking. "Yes, I see the modification here. Derek submitted that on your behalf last month. Said you'd discussed it with him directly." "I never discussed any drainage modifications with Derek." Silence on the line. That's unusual. The approval shows your electronic signature. I never signed anything. Let me transfer you to our compliance coordinator." Hold music played for 8 minutes. When someone finally answered, they claimed no knowledge of the specific approval. They suggested I contact the board directly. Derek Hayes was the board member who'd signed my supposed request. I hung up and drove straight to City Hall. The planning department occupied the second floor of the municipal building on Commerce Street. I'd been there before for my original building permits. The clerk pulled up my property records on her computer. "Yes, Mr. Graham, we have the HOA drainage modification on file. Approved through the expedited review process." What's the expedited review process? For minor modifications that don't require full permitting, HOA pre-approval streamlines everything. Very common in planned communities. She showed me the screen. My electronic signature appeared on multiple documents. The timestamp showed I'd submitted everything at 2:47 p.m. on August 15th. I was in a compliance meeting with state regulators that entire afternoon. 40 miles away in Montpelier, I had calendar entries, email confirmations, parking receipts. "Can you print copies of everything?" "Absolutely. That'll be $12 for the full packet." I paid and waited while she assembled the documents. 23 pages total. Engineering drawings, soil reports, grade certifications, HOA correspondence, all bearing my forged signature. The engineering drawings showed my sump pump discharge being rerouted through underground piping. The new system directed water across my property line into a collection basin on the Hayes lot. From there, it connected to their existing drainage infrastructure. Essentially, I was pumping my basement water onto their property. With official approval. At my supposed request. I drove home and went straight to my basement. The sump pump sat in its usual corner. But the discharge pipe looked different. Newer. The connection point showed fresh PVC cement. I followed the pipe along the basement wall. It disappeared through a hole I'd never noticed before. The opening was professionally sealed, painted to match the surrounding concrete. Outside, I traced the buried pipe route using a metal detector I'd borrowed from my neighbor 3 houses down. The signal led directly toward the Hayes property. It crossed under my fence line exactly where I'd noticed the disturbed soil. My phone rang. Derek Hayes. "Hey Charles, Emery mentioned you had some questions about our drainage work. I need to talk to you, in person." "Sure thing, come on over." I walked across the yard carrying my folder of City Hall documents. Derek met me at his back door. He looked nervous. "What's on your mind?" I opened the folder and showed him the engineering drawings. "I never requested this drainage modification." His face went pale. "Charles, I can explain. You forged my signature. You filed false documents with the city. You've been pumping my basement water onto your property for 6 weeks. It's not what you think." "Then explain it." Derek glanced toward his house. Emery was watching from the kitchen window. "Can we talk privately?" We walked to his garage. He closed the door behind us. "Look, we had a flooding problem. Our basement was getting water damage every time it rained. The drainage contractor said the only solution was to redirect some of the neighborhood runoff. So you decided to redirect mine? Your sump pump runs constantly. All that water was creating pressure against our foundation. The contractor said if we could capture it and route it properly, it would solve both our problems. By forging my signature? Emery handles all the HOA paperwork. She said it would be easier to process everything together, avoid delays. She has access to all the electronic signature systems through her job. I stared at him. Your wife committed fraud using her position with the HOA. She was trying to help. The modification benefits everyone. Your water gets properly managed instead of just dumping into the ground. My basement is flooding because you rerouted my drainage without permission. Derek's shoulders sagged. The contractor said that wouldn't happen. Well, it did happen. And now I have thousands of dollars in water damage. We'll pay for the repairs. This isn't about money, Derek. This is about fraud, document forgery, abuse of HOA authority. I left him standing in his garage and walked home. My hands were shaking again. Not from anger. From the realization that my neighbors had been systematically deceiving me for months. The friendly cookies. The casual questions about my schedule. The convenient timing of their drainage project. They'd been planning this. I called Detective Logan Simmons at the County Land Records Office. I'd worked with him before on compliance issues involving fraudulent documentation. "Charles, good to hear from you. What's the situation?" I explained everything. The forged signatures. The unauthorized drainage modification. The HOA employee involvement. That's definitely criminal fraud. Plus potential conspiracy charges if they planned it together. Can you email me copies of all the documents? Sending them now. I'll need to coordinate with the HOA management company and the city planning department. This kind of case requires careful documentation. How long will the investigation take? Depends on their cooperation. Could be weeks, could be months. I hung up and sat in my basement, staring at the water stains on my foundation wall. The sump pump kicked on every 12 minutes. Each cycle sent my water directly onto the Hayes property through their illegal modification. They'd turned me into an unwilling participant in their drainage solution. The betrayal wasn't just the fraud, it was the calculated manipulation. The months of friendly deception while they systematically violated my property rights. And Emery Hayes had used her HOA position to make it all look legitimate. Detective Simmons arrived 3 days later with a surveyor from the county planning department. I watched from my kitchen window as they measured the drainage modifications with a Leica TS16 total station. The surveyor, a thin man named Marcus Chen, documented every pipe connection with GPS coordinates. His equipment beeped steadily as he recorded the illegal diversion points. "Mr. Graham, can you show us the original drainage plans from your property file?" I spread the blueprints across my dining table. The original sump pump discharge was clearly marked as terminating at the storm drain connection near my driveway. And this is what they actually installed? Detective Simmons compared the plans to Chen's field measurements. The deviation was obvious. My drainage had been rerouted 43 feet southeast, directly onto the Hayes property. The modification required a variance permit, Chen explained. No such permit was filed with the city planning department. What about the HOA approval? HOA approval doesn't supersede municipal drainage ordinances. This violates Section 15.2, 4.080 of the Silverfield Municipal Code. Detective Simmons photographed the forged documents with a Canon EOS R5. Each image was time-stamped and GPS tagged for purposes. We'll need to interview Emery Hayes and the contractor who performed the work. I provided the business card from Precision Excavation. The company name was embossed in gold lettering on heavy cardstock. They seemed legitimate when Derek showed me their credentials. Legitimate contractors don't perform unpermitted work, Chen said. This suggests either incompetence or deliberate fraud. The investigation expanded over the following week. Detective Simmons obtained the HOA's complete file on my property modification request. The documents revealed a pattern of procedural violations. Emery Hayes had approved the drainage change without board consultation. The approval was dated 2 days before my actual submission. She'd backdated the paperwork to create a false timeline. The HOA management company, Pinnacle Property Services, cooperated fully with the investigation. Their regional manager, Patricia Voss, reviewed all communications between Hayes and their office. Mrs. Hayes submitted the approval electronically through our portal system, Voss explained during our conference call. The timestamp shows she accessed the system at 11:47 p.m. on March 15th. "That's the night before I submitted my request," I said. "Exactly. She approved a modification that didn't officially exist yet." Detective Simmons subpoenaed the electronic records from Pinnacle's servers. The digital trail was comprehensive. Hayes had logged into the system multiple times, modifying approval dates and adding retroactive justifications. She'd also deleted several email exchanges with Derek about the drainage project. The IT department recovered the deleted files from their backup servers. The emails revealed the full scope of their deception. Derek had approached Emery in February about their flooding problems. She'd suggested rerouting my drainage as a solution. "Charles won't notice if we do it during his work hours," one email read. "I can handle the paperwork on RJ." Another message discussed timing the project with my business trips. They'd monitored my schedule for weeks, planning the installation when I'd be away. The contractor, Precision Excavation, initially claimed they'd followed proper procedures. When Detective Simmons showed them the forged approval documents, their story changed. "Mrs. Hayes told us everything was approved," the owner, Frank Morrison, admitted. "She showed us official HOA letterhead. We assumed it was legitimate." "Did you verify the permits with the city?" She said HOA approval was sufficient for internal drainage modifications. Morrison agreed to cooperate with the investigation in exchange for reduced charges. His crew had installed the illegal connection in 6 hours while I was attending a compliance conference in Burlington. The case term was overwhelming. Forged documents. Unauthorized property modifications. Conspiracy to commit fraud. The district attorney's office filed formal charges against both Derek and Emery Hayes. I attended the preliminary hearing at Silverfield Municipal Court. Judge Rebecca Torres reviewed them methodically. The forged signatures were particularly damning when compared to my authentic handwriting samples. "The defendants will be arraigned next Tuesday," Judge Torres announced. "Bail is set at $5,000 each." Derek's face was pale as the bailiff explained the charges. Emery Hayes stared straight ahead, showing no emotion. Their attorney, a nervous young man named Timothy Walsh, requested a continuance. "My clients need time to review the extensive documentation." Motion denied. This case involves clear documentary and multiple municipal code violations. The arraignment proceeded as scheduled. Both defendants pleaded not guilty, despite the overwhelming against them. Their defense strategy became apparent during discovery. Walsh argued that the drainage modification was a good-faith effort to solve a legitimate flooding problem. My clients believed they had proper authorization, he claimed. Mrs. Hayes relied on her understanding of HOA procedures. The prosecution, led by Assistant District Attorney Sarah Chen, dismantled this argument systematically. The forged signatures alone constituted felony fraud, regardless of intent. The defendants created false documents and deceived municipal authorities, Chen argued. This wasn't a misunderstanding. It was calculated deception. The trial lasted 3 days. I testified about discovering the drainage modification and the subsequent property damage. My basement repairs had cost $8,400, not including the ongoing moisture problems. Expert witnesses explained the technical violations. The unauthorized drainage modification violated multiple municipal codes and created liability issues for the HOA. Emery Hayes took the stand in her own defense. She claimed the approval process was routine and that she'd acted within her authority as an HOA board member. "I was trying to help resolve a neighborhood drainage issue," she testified. "I never intended to cause problems for Mr. Graham." Assistant District Attorney Chen cross-examined her relentlessly. The timeline of approvals, the forged signatures, the deleted emails, each piece of contradicted her claims of innocent mistake. "You accessed the HOA portal system at 11:47 p.m. to approve a request that hadn't been submitted yet. How do you explain that?" "I must have made an error with the dates." "An error that happened to benefit your husband's drainage problems?" Hayes had no credible answer. The jury deliberated for 90 minutes. They returned guilty verdicts on all counts: fraud, conspiracy, and violation of municipal ordinances. Judge Torres sentenced Derek Hayes to 6 months of community service and restitution for my property damage. Emery Hayes received a harsher sentence: 1 year of supervised probation and removal from all HOA positions. The court finds that Mrs. Hayes abused her position of trust within the homeowners association, Judge Torres explained. Such violations undermine the integrity of community governance. The HOA board voted unanimously to remove Emery Hayes from her position. They also implemented new oversight procedures for property modification approvals. Pinnacle Property Services revised their electronic portal system to prevent backdating of approvals. All modification requests now require timestamp verification and board consultation. My drainage system was restored to its original configuration at the Hayes family's expense. Precision Excavation performed the work under city supervision, ensuring compliance with all municipal codes. The basement repairs took 2 weeks. I documented everything with photographs and receipts, creating a comprehensive record of the restoration process. Detective Simmons closed the case with a detailed report to the County Land Records Office. The investigation had revealed systematic abuse of HOA authority and municipal code violations. This case demonstrates the importance of proper oversight in community governance, he wrote. Homeowners associations must operate within legal boundaries, not above them. The Hayes family avoided me completely during the restoration work. I occasionally saw Derek in his backyard, but he never acknowledged my presence. Their house went on the market 6 weeks after the trial concluded. 6 months later, the Hayes house sold to a young family with twin daughters. I watched from my kitchen window as the moving truck pulled away. The new neighbors, Derek and Emery Chen, introduced themselves the following weekend. No relation to my former adversaries despite sharing the first name. We heard there was some drama with the previous owners, Derek Chen mentioned during our conversation. Something about drainage issues? I gave him the basic facts without editorial commentary. The Chen seemed genuinely concerned about maintaining good neighbor relationships. My basement remained completely dry through the spring thaw and summer storms. The restored drainage system performed exactly as originally designed, directing water away from both properties without conflict. The HOA implemented the oversight changes as promised. All property modification requests now required 3 board signatures and municipal pre-approval. Emery Hayes' replacement, Derek Morrison, proved far more methodical in his approach to community governance. We learned some hard lessons about accountability, Morrison explained during his first board meeting. Trust requires verification. I attended several HOA meetings to monitor the new procedures. The electronic portal system now included automatic timestamps and audit trails. Backdating approvals had become technically impossible. Detective Simmons contacted me once for a follow-up report. The County Land Records Office had used our case to develop new protocols for investigating HOA-related fraud complaints. Your documentation made this prosecution possible, he said. Most homeowners don't maintain such detailed records. The basement monitoring system remained in place. I checked the sensors weekly out of habit rather than necessity. The peace of mind justified the minor inconvenience. My compliance coordinator work had expanded to include municipal governance consulting. 3 neighboring townships requested my assistance with HOA oversight regulations. The Hayes case had become a cautionary tale in local government circles. I lobbied for state legislation limiting HOA enforcement powers. Before things went bad, the proposed bill would require municipal approval for all property modifications affecting drainage, utilities, or structural elements. Community associations would retain authority over aesthetic guidelines but lose jurisdiction over technical infrastructure decisions. The legislation gained bipartisan support after similar cases emerged in other Vermont communities. HOA overreach had become a statewide concern requiring systematic reform. My property value recovered completely within 8 months. The drainage controversy had created temporary market uncertainty, but proper resolution restored buyer confidence. The Chen family proved to be excellent neighbors. Their daughters played in the backyard without any water accumulation issues. The restored drainage system protected both properties effectively. I occasionally drove past the Hayes family's new address across town. They had purchased a condominium with professional property management. No HOA responsibilities. No opportunities for abuse of authority. The River Crossing subdivision returned to its previous quiet routine. Property modifications proceeded through proper channels. Board meetings focused on legitimate community concerns rather than personal vendettas. My basement office overlooked the backyard where this entire situation had begun. The French drain system operated invisibly beneath the surface, directing water exactly where municipal codes intended. The monitoring sensors had recorded 0 moisture alerts since the restoration work concluded. The basement remained dry, secure, and functional for my home office needs. Justice had been served through proper legal channels. The community had learned valuable lessons about governance and accountability. The drainage system worked as originally designed. It was finally over, and the silence felt earned.